Hello and welcome to the 6th episode of the Cheyenne Frontier Days podcast. I'm your host today, Kyle Shobe, track announcer here at Cheyenne since 2007, and today visiting with rodeo announcer Garrett Yerigan and from Smith Pro Rodeo, Riggin Smith.
A part of Western history, a legend walking tall. Cheyenne Frontier Days, the daddy of them all.
Today we're joined with Garrett Yerigan, 4-year announcer here at the Daddy of Them All, and Riggin Smith, a part of the Smith Pro Rodeo crew and family, and we're excited to have both of you on board. Riggin, let's start with you. Tell us a little about yourself. Tell us about your involvement, not only with the world of rodeo, but here, especially at Cheyenne Frontier Days.
Ever since I started coming here in 2012, we kind of got over here into it. My dad always ran the front end back then, still flanked horses and everything, and we had Levi and all them coming around right at that time and kind of taking over from my dad more. So that way he could like stand back and focus more on the production side. And so that's when I started stepping in and taking care of all the horses and doing the stock side for him so he could stay at home with my brothers and for our sports and stuff mainly.
Well, now you were just a youngster at the time that Smith Pro Rodeo got the contract. I believe that was 2012.
I was 9.
You were 9 years old, but still very involved in the rodeo company.
Always feeding and sorting horses and everything by then, and just mainly taking care of them in the back pens.
Yeah. Well, we look forward to talking more about that as we kind of get into the meat of this episode today. Garrett, why don't you tell us more about you, your beginnings, kind of unique in the rodeo announcer world. In this day and age, announcers kind of come from all walks, a lot of former competitors anymore. But you really grew up announcing rodeos, very involved in the production side.
Yeah, for sure. I was at my first rodeo when I was 2 weeks old. My mom and dad were both rodeo contestants, and I don't want to say that I didn't have a choice but to be in the rodeo lifestyle, but that's what was, born and bred into me. I didn't grow up in a football family or a baseball family. I grew up in a rodeo family, and literally it's all I've ever known. Every day, even the days I try to get away from the sport, somehow I still end up, right back in it and stuff. So I eat, breathe, sleep rodeo. At a young age, I figured out that I was not going to be very good in the arena as a contestant. So when I was young, 5, 6 years old, started kind of focusing on the announcer stand. I thought it was so cool of the way a guy could stand up there and project to tens of thousands of people. And, it just looked like so much fun. And then when I was about 6 or 7, I started announcing slack at rodeos, which is the excess contestants outside of the performances. And now, fast forward into my career, I understand why the announcers were always so willing to let me announce the slack. But it was a cool opportunity. And from there, I started doing jackpot steer wrestlings and tie-down ropings and barrel racings and, pretty much anything I could get a microphone at. And I did my first full rodeo when I was 12 years old in Butler, Missouri. And, literally, it's been a whirlwind snowball effect from there. And back in 2020, in August, I got a call from CEO of Cheyenne Frontier Days, Tom Herzig, and at the time, the rodeo chairman, Chad Matthews, and asked if I thought might want to be a part of the Cheyenne Frontier Days, and I couldn't get the word yes out of my mouth fast enough. Just an incredible opportunity, and it took me about a month for it to really set in that something like that was even a possibility, and then stood on the porch for the first time in 2021. And if I was to tell you that I wasn't nervous, I would be lying right to your face. It's been an incredible ride over these fast 3.5 years. The volunteers, the committee, everybody is so hospitable, and even from day one, everybody treated me like I should be here and had been here forever. And I'll forever be grateful to what Cheyenne Frontier Days did for my career, and hope I can repay the debt someday.
Yeah. Both of you grew up around some of the larger rodeos in the country, and coming here to Cheyenne, there's a certain spirit here. There's a certain, there's something different about Cheyenne. I think we've all felt that. But Riggin, kind of going back to, you were 9 when you first started coming here. But you'd been to the NFR, you'd been to some of the biggest rodeos in the country. Tell us about coming to Cheyenne and what your feelings were, even as a kid at 9 years old. What was kind of your perception?
What I thought was so crazy is my dad doesn't get excited. Like for nothing. He just was like even kill about everything. I mean, nothing makes him nervous. Nothing gets him overwhelmed, really. Just flat. But when he found out that he was going to get the contract to Cheyenne, came home and like ecstatic. Like it was really cool to see how excited he was to get to come here. So obviously I've watched it on TV forever. And I was telling somebody literally yesterday, even if the added money here as a contestant wasn't very much, you'd still go because it's Cheyenne. There's just something about it, like you said, that makes you want to be here, want to be in the arena. And I was telling my buddy yesterday, when you walk out in that arena, even when the stands are empty and you just look around, it's just something. Like something on the inside.
I agree with that. And ever since the first year, I remember that 2021, I just had some free time one night. It was after they had finished a day of qualifying rounds, and I just walked up there and found a random seat up high in the grandstands and just sat there and kind of just, you could feel the history. I mean, from back in the days of, all the history we've talked about, from the year of the Cowgirls celebration this year and all the women that have impacted this rodeo, and to the great rodeo memories and, Billy Etbauer and Cool Alley and those big matchups, and even the, the lows of the sport with obviously Lane Frost, losing his life in that arena. There's just so much that hits you. And there's so many rodeos that are pioneering on technology and different innovations, and that's great. But what Cheyenne has been able to do of maintaining such a rich tradition with the wild horse race and the rookie bronc riding, which I don't know about y'all, is my favorite part of the rodeo. And it's just the long score in the time events and shoot 9 with the hand operated gate. I mean, there's just so much that has been maintained to keep the spirit of the West alive. And I mean, it's indescribable. If somebody hasn't ever come and experienced a performance live, they haven't lived.
We talk a lot about tradition here, and there is certainly a lot of it. But the first year I came was 2007. And in those 17 years since then, there's been a lot of change. When I first came, there was 3 sections of bull riding, 2 sections of bronc riding, 2 sections of bareback, 3 sections of dog, and it was an all afternoon event. We fast forward to now, and I look at the package that Cheyenne Frontier Days is, and I think it's unique that they've still been able to maintain a lot of this tradition and the spirit of all that, paying respect to that while kind of taking this into the new era. And I think Smith Pro Rodeo has a lot to do with that. Riggin, what would you say?
Well, that when he said that, I agree. So like every other rodeo we put on across the country, it is. I mean, it's pyrotechnics, a lot of technology, and don't get me wrong, I love the production side of that a lot. But I do like the feeling of coming here and keeping it the same way it used to be for the majority part. But I think the reason it's not such an all afternoon deal anymore is because you still got to make it good for the fans. And I think there's more fans that come now than ever because you get to kind of squeeze it down and make it a performance still at the same time rather than an event.
Mm-hmm. The other uniqueness here is now we are producing this show for the live crowd, which is first and foremost, but the Cowboy Channel being involved has kind of brought a lot more elements to the production side of this thing. And in my opinion, it may be the best rodeo produced for live and television. And that takes a group effort, doesn't it?
It does. Lots of moving pieces, lots of moving parts, lots of instrumental people. Communication is vital to the success. And, from, what Stu Pearson does of putting the show together and putting all the pieces in and stuff. And, communication with you and I, during the live performances and stuff and with Riggin and Levi and Stace and all the guys down front. It is impressive to get to go back and watch a performance because in the heat of the battle, for me anyway, it's a whirlwind blur for 3 hours and 15 minutes. And I have to catch my breath every now and then. But then to go back and watch the finished product on TV, on a re-air or something, or going back on the app, it just makes you smile. Like, man, it's pure chaos as it's happening. But to go back and watch the finished product, I mean, I think that adds the appeal. I mean, yesterday I even made the comment during the live show, I think it was actually during the rookie bronc riding, that if somebody hasn't come and experienced a performance in person, if you're just sitting at home watching on TV, you're not really grasping what is going on and the energy in the room.
How you said you like when you go back and watch it. and you see how smooth it goes. I'm relieved that's milk because it don't feel like it right there because you're hustling around trying to keep it all rocking and rolling. But then you go back and watch the finishing product and it looks pretty good on TV and makes you feel a lot better.
Yeah, for sure. And I commend the Cowboy Channel for sticking with the live production, the live feed, basically from the arena. There's no play-by-play and color man that are overdubbing the voice and things. And to me, that really helps capture a lot of what this is. Even though sitting at home is not like being here and being a part of it, I think it still brings that element of it that is so important here at Cheyenne, because you can watch a lot of rodeo on TV and the only difference is the color of the chutes, and other than that, kind of hard to tell where they are. It's different here, and I commend the Cowboy Channel for kind of riding with us on that to help bring that element here. Let's get into kind of the bones of that. So Garrett, you and I are on the production side of this. We have a meeting 10:30 every morning to go through piece by piece what it takes. I want to talk about that and kind of what we look at from the production side and what happens there. And then Riggin, I want you to give us kind of the perspective from the stock contractor side, because we don't see that on our production side. We don't see all the sorting and we don't see all the behind the chutes, literally the behind the chute stuff. So let's start with the production side, and then we'll kind of talk about the rodeo livestock side.
Yeah, I think it's very eye-opening to people to know how much planning it takes for a 3-hour and 15-minute show. I mean, it takes, 3 months to put this show together. So like you said, 10:30 every morning we meet in the HQ building, and gosh, there's probably 30 to 40, some days 50 people in the meeting of different committees and areas and, different roles and responsibilities that have, it may be a job to do for the whole show or maybe a job to do for 2 minutes. But they're all important, and everybody's got to know where to be, when to be there, hit their marks. And like I said earlier, Stu Pearson, he puts our timeline together, and we go through the run of show and we hit every line item. We talk about, what events happening, what promotions, what activations, when that event's over, the progression from wrapping up the event to going through all of our leaderboards to our interview with Katie Lucas and the Cowboy Channel. And it's trick riders and mounted shooters and the kids stick horse race and the trivia and the hat shuffle and the parachute drop. I mean, and I know I'm forgetting something, but there's just so many pieces that get crammed into the show. And that's probably the most common thing I hear from friends that come watch this rodeo is the show never stops. Whether it's on the arena or in the arena or on the track, there's never a moment where you go, okay, what's next? I mean, there's always something happening, and that's a tough task for any rodeo. Yes, it does help having a track and an arena separated, but still, you got to make sure everybody's on their marks so that there's not any downtime between those pieces of the show. And when we leave there, for me anyway, we all kind of go our separate ways, and I go check in with the rodeo secretary, Haley Bridwell, every morning and get the last minute turnouts and replacements. Then Cody Sosby, he drags me to the Cowboy Bistro. I know that's a surprise that we go eat, but we go to the Cowboy Bistro, and they do a phenomenal job feeding the contestants and personnel every morning, and kind of get that last minute nutrition, and then back to the trailer and just a few minutes of decompress, free the mind, and walk up to the porch and get up there about noon every day, and then come visit with you for our show setup about 12:30, and cannon fires at 12:45, and it's gangbusters from there.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that happen here at Cheyenne that don't happen at a regular rodeo, as we say. Riggin, talk about that from your perspective, and what does a day in the life of a stock contractor look like here at the Daddy of 'em All?
This one's hard. Like this rodeo is really hard for like our crew. It's just hard on them because there's also so much stuff going on after the rodeo too. So obviously everybody wants to go hang out at night or whatever, but here we start at 4:30 in the morning, start feeding. Then right when everything gets done eating, we start sorting at 7. Then we start pinning everything back, so we can stack it so we can load everything real smooth in there and it doesn't take up time where we're late for when Garrett starts announcing bareback riding. And then catching back during the rodeo. Cheyenne has a great back pin set up here. So it makes everything 10 times easier. You go some places that it's like really rough. But here it's really, really good. And y'all give us so many people here that come back there and help. And I think that's what makes this rodeo way different is there's so many people on the committee that are cowboys, and it's not just people writing a check to get a performance, Y'all's committee helps so much here, and like they can actually come back there and help us sort, help us pin back. And that makes a huge difference.
The organization it must take on your end is incredible because we get a buck order every day that's preset. You know exactly what cowboy's up, and boy, it sure didn't used to be that way. I mean, I know talking to John Reinhardt, who's a close friend of mine and a volunteer of plus 60 years. He used to kind of be my assistant down on the track, and before he kind of retired to some extent. But he talks about sorting basically on the fly, going right delivery, left delivery, and just loading that stock as the rodeo's going on. And Casey Tibbs might be the second guy out in the first section of bronc ride, and there was really no rhyme or reason to it. You guys have a lot more methodical way of doing that, and for good reason, because we are producing a show, so to speak. But what goes into setting that buck order, and then how does that translate for the rest of the day?
Obviously, like your horses are going to be better out of certain places. You never just want to shoot run them because some horses are not going to be good out of the front chute. Some are not going to be good out of the back. Your studs always go first or last. That way they're easy to catch back at the end. And then you set your buck. I kind of set my buck order on who I think is going to win, more than likely. I mean, once we get into the semis and the short round, they set it for us. We have no control of that. But at the beginning of it, we kind of set it based off, like, if you got a horse that really bucks and a guy's going to have a hard time, normally he goes first because he could be 90 or he could buck off, good starter. At the end, you always want like a complete ride, like something that you really think is going to be good, and you try to end with that 90-point ride, and crowd goes wild, last guy,
Yeah, but still the fact that rodeo spontaneous and nothing is
nothing's
really
planned.
scripted, right? Even though we go through all this production, we go through all of this organization, nothing is truly scripted in what we do. And that's the beauty of it, because I think with the lives that we live in this modern era, there is so much that is wash, rinse, repeat, and it's the same day to day. A rodeo's not like that.
No, it's not. And I've had people ask me, do you ever get tired of announcing rodeos? And you travel all over the world and you do the same thing every day and stuff. And I my answer is no. I mean, yes, I am announcing a rodeo, 5-6 days a week, but it's all different. I mean, you can plan out that opening ceremonies and we can hit every mark to the split second. But when the first guy nods his head, you are at the complete liberty of the animal from there. I mean, whether a horse wants to lay down or, run off or stay, I mean, just all the things that an animal can do when they want to, you're at their timing from there, and you just got to do your best to react to it. I've got friends that do broadcast and announcing in other sports, and when they come watch rodeo, they just are mind blown because most every sport is so scripted. If you're announcing a baseball game, that, after this half inning, you're going to do this and you're going to say this. And then after the inning's closed, you're going to do this and say this. I mean, everything's so scripted. But rodeo, you don't need to waste time scripting. Just give us the bullet points and we'll go put it together because we never know how it's going to fit and flow. That's one of my favorite things about what we do is just the spontaneity and the never know what's going to happen next. I want to see everybody be 90, but the reality of it is it's not going to happen. So it's just, hey, I can tell you what this guy's going to do on paper. I can tell you what this horse is going to do on paper. But when the chute opens, it's just whatever the animal feels like that day.
Well, if it was scripted, y'all's job would be too easy.
That's right. That's right. And way more boring.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that a little bit, because I think rodeo is unique in the way that an in-house announcer guides the crowd through every facet of it. There's still an element, especially here at Cheyenne, I think, where you kind of have to let things breathe. But I'm not sure I know of another sport that has an in-house announcer that does what we do. So talk about that.
And I've said that a lot also, that we're the only sport that talks the whole time. And I don't mean that like we're wearing people out, but you go to a football game and it's, touchdown by number 17, Kyle Shobe. That's it. I mean, at 4th and 10 or, whatever, like little facts and figures like that. but rodeo is the only sport that paints the picture the whole way through of, you know, I'm a fan just like anybody that buys a ticket. So I want everybody to get excited when I get excited. You know, if I'm sitting here just like we are today and we're watching this rodeo, I'm going to say, you know, hey man, that guy's a 3-time world champion. He's got a horse that's been to the NFR 5 times. He should be 90 on this horse. Like, I'm going to paint that picture to you guys if we were sitting there having a beer in the grandstands, or if I was announcing the rodeo. And I hope that translates to the fans of the highs and lows of this sport. And because there's always a roller coaster. I mean, there's going to be peaks and valleys. And, you know, I'm going to use this example here because it's kind of a hot topic. Brody Cress is the hometown favorite in the saddle bronc ride, and he won this rodeo 3 years in a row from 17 to 19. And now he's had trouble the last 3 years. I mean, whether it's a mark out rule or just, you know, stubbing his toe here or there. So that's the highs and lows of the sport. I mean, everybody wants to see Brody do well, myself included. And just, I mean, that's the harsh reality. I mean, we can't pick his score for him. We can't pick his horse for him. It's luck of the draw. And then, you know, just little things happen. But, you know, when he got a no score this year from the mark out rule, I mean, I was the same way the crowd was, just that, dang it, you know, and you could hear that in the stadium. And I think that's something that not a lot of other sports have, is somebody guiding you through the emotions of when Zeke Thurston was 90 the other day and Brody gets a no score. You know, when somebody leaves here from a rodeo performance, whether it's Cheyenne or anywhere, I hope that they have achieved all the emotions from laughter to excitement to, you know, oh, dang, I hate that for that cowboy. And I think that's, to your point, something that no other sport can do.
That's what I think is cool about the announcing side of it is you're an announcer, you're not a host, technically. I mean, you're not asking questions, you're not low down. You can build the crowd up. You can also tear them down. It can go real bad real fast if not. You know, like y'all's job is very, very, very important.
And I'll be honest, I can't do my job without a great music director. You know, Austin Lopeman, who does the music here, does a phenomenal job. He and his dad, Chuck, have been here for, probably 24 years-ish. And, you know, what he's able to do, it's the soundtrack of a movie. You know, if you were to go watch a horror movie with a cartoon soundtrack, it's not going to be the same movie. The music is what sets the tone for what's going to happen, whether it's drama or fun or sorrow or, you know, just a good pre-show song that just makes you relax and gets you in the right mood. The soundtrack to a rodeo is as vital as a soundtrack to a movie.
There's a big evolution of that over the last 20 years, let alone the last 50 years. So again, here we are in Cheyenne where we talk about tradition, we talk about history. But you think about the early days and like this picture on the wall behind us, there wasn't a sound system.
No.
You know, they were using, you know, cones and you know, I just think about how far things have come that we're able to connect the fans more to what we do in this arena. And I think it's certainly a benefit. But how has that changed our role as announcers? And then I want to talk about not just the stock side of this, Riggin, because you guys are very much involved on the production side at all rodeos you go to, even here at Cheyenne, even though we've got a big production team. But I think there's kind of two different angles here that I'd like to shed a little light on. But, you know, how much has that changed our role as announcers?
It has turned it on its head. You're right. I mean, now we're in the era of technology with big concert line array sound systems and video boards with replays and stats and all the things to keep everybody informed. Obviously, television now becoming a large part of it and having to implement commercial breaks and crowd microphones and just being cognizant that not only are you playing to the fans here that bought a ticket, but those sitting at home on their lazy boy, you know, watching anywhere in the world. The technology has turned us around. Our sport is now slowly starting to adopt instant replay. You know, there's a couple of rodeos now that have implemented that, and in an effort to ensure the fairness to the athlete, good and bad, you know, making sure the right call is made. Sometimes it goes against the contestant, sometimes for. So, but ultimately you want to make sure the right call is made, and, you know, either way. So it is exciting to see this new era that we're stepping into, and I mean, I'm excited to see what comes next.
Mm-hmm. How about from your side, you know, on the production side, this, again, this is our opportunity to connect with the crowd, bring them up when needs be. That kind of matches up with what you see on the production level.
100%. Mainly the music for me. Like Mac Altizer, they changed rodeo forever.
Absolutely.
Like forever. If he don't go to the Hall of Fame, I'm not going to be stoked.
And why is that? Tell our viewers about
because he
what
was the
did.
first guy to ever play rock and roll music in the bull ride and get the crowd pumped up. And instead of, I mean, no offense, but instead of playing the band over there, you're playing AC/DC and getting the crowd real pumped up and screaming and hollering. And it's going to make the Cowboys just as excited. I mean, if somebody's cheering for me to do something, I'm more than likely going to do it better too.
The traditionalists were not happy.
Yeah, no, not about that. But I think that changed rodeo forever on the production side. And I'm like him too. I'm a fan. Like when I'm in there, that's what I want to hear. Like it makes me excited. My horses, my bulls, whatever, bucking. Like I want to hear something. I'm like, yeah, I'm screaming, hollering. I think I yell more in the arena than anybody else. Maybe not Cody Kidd, but second most.
I know there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that we never see. I want you both to think about maybe a story from behind the scenes here at Cheyenne, or something that sticks out in your mind as a highlight, or something funny or something that's happened that nobody would know. But I know there's got to be some things happen, somebody getting hooked or something in the back pins as things are going on. I was talking to longtime volunteer Dick Beach this week. He had some great stories about getting mashed behind the chute with running the out gate. John Reinhardt, again, another longtime volunteer, same thing, running the out gate for the bullfights that they used to have on the track in those days. And there's so much history here, and sadly a lot of it won't ever get written down. But I think if we can talk about them and keep some of those things alive, I think that's kind of part of the grandeur here at Cheyenne. So I don't know, anything come to mind that be worth sharing today?
Stories that we can tell publicly. Is that what we're going for here? Gosh, and I miss out on a lot of it, honestly, because, I'm up there on the porch and I just see, what's going on out there. I mean, Riggin, he gets a better view of kind of the belly of the beast and stuff. And like you said, behind the chutes and back there, with Terry Autry and all the guys that are sorting and kind of in the trenches, I guess you'd say. For me, I guess my favorite part, and it's not really behind the scenes, but I want to encourage people to just watch in the rookie bronc riding when there is 10 bucking horses and 6 pickup men and 4 cowboys a horseback. And I mean, just pure pandemonium going on in the arena. Watching all the people on foot, watching the judges and the chute bosses and stuff, I don't know how they don't snap their necks just doing this the whole time, watching out for themselves. And I think that adds to the grandeur of that event, and that's what's fun to watch for me.
No, I agree. Like everybody's focused on what the horse and the rider are doing. Nobody knows that the real people in danger is the people walking around in front there. Because there's nowhere else that does it like that.
Yeah.
You might as well tie a rope to all 10 of them and yank it.
Yeah.
There's no other place in the world they buck that many horses that fast, and it is the coolest event ever.
Yeah. Well, both of you on the road, basically full-time rodeoing. Riggin, talk about what you see in the future, because you kind of stepped away from rodeo for a little bit while you were kind of growing up and things and doing kid stuff, and now you're very much back involved with your family's business. What do you see for the next several years?
Man, I'm going to go try to get a couple more rodeos back. Like, Dad used to put on so many rodeos when we were little, and we started playing sports, so he got away from it, and so he could be home with us, and now that I kind of step in and do most of that side of it, I want to go get them all back. And I live on the road right now. For me, I love it. Like, I don't want to get off. I don't even want to go home ever. I just stay rodeoing the whole time. So I see going to get a couple more rodeos, try to keep the breeding program rocking and rolling. And I got some really good young stuff coming up. So I think we got a good marking point there in a way. And so I'm hoping just get some more horses to the finals, go get a couple more rodeos, and keep hanging out, I guess.
Yeah, it's very, very exciting to see these things kind of change hands to the next generation, and that's the story of rodeo over the years. Garrett, you've already had so many accomplishments in your, I'm going to say young career, because you're young in age, not young in the business, but already a 2-time announcer of the year. You've announced the national finals breakaway roping. What do you see in your future and in the next few years and beyond here, and what does that look like?
You never know what tomorrow brings. Obviously, I want to work the national finals rodeo. That's a bucket list, I think, for anybody. And you just never know what tomorrow brings as far as new opportunities for rodeos. There's lots of other rodeos out there that I'd like to do. And I'm excited to see what new rodeos come, because if you were to ask me that question 10, 12 years ago, when before the American, nobody even thought that was an answer, but now the American is such an iconic event, and I'm fortunate to do it now. So, tomorrow they could announce a new big, awesome rodeo, and hey, I want to be a part of that one day. But I'd say just continue to do what I do. I love telling the stories of the athletes. I love seeing the beautiful parts of not just the United States, but of the world. The microphone has taken me to Canada and Australia, and I'm just excited to live out a dream. And I never work a day in my life because I'm doing something that I love.
Well, and we're here in Cheyenne, Wyoming, which I don't know if there's a better place to be in the middle of the summer than right here at the daddy of them all. Garrett, Yerigan, Riggin Smith, we appreciate you being on today as we explore all things Cheyenne Frontier Days. Join us next month for another episode here of the Cheyenne Frontier Days podcast.
Western history, a legend walking tall. Cheyenne Frontier Days, the daddy